that's where I discovered how strong I am, because I don't believe that difficult circumstances make you stronger. I believe that they reveal just how strong you are, because you have to draw on that strength when that happens.
Our guest today is an authentic transformational speaker, mindset mentor, show host, author, and heart-centered master, certified life coach with over 12 years of experience, running a business that she absolutely loves. She is a wayfinder that believes each of us has unique gifts to share with the world and that we are here to make a difference. Her gift is lighting the way for those who are excited about giving their gifts to the world. Welcome to the show, Linda Bucher.
Thank you so much for letting me be here today, Mike. I'm excited about it.
I know you're usually on the other side too. You interview people. I know you've been a guest on a ton of shows. So I cannot believe it's January of 2023 when we record this, that it's taken this long for us to finally convene and make this happen.
I know, because I feel like we've known each other for many years, and I think this must be the right time for this to happen.
Yeah, and I'm going to give a shout out to Linda and I, guys. Thank you for being with us, whether you're tuning in on YouTube or Apple, Spotify, however you're tuning into the podcast today. But Linda and I have met, it's been probably 6-7 years. We're both local to the Buffalo region, but and I want to give a shout out to Colleen at the Orchard Park Chamber of Commerce. It was an Orchard Park Chamber event that you and I met at. It was like a health and wellness event, I believe. And then I believe I came to your studio and had like a cup of coffee and you just shared your story. And I remember I put it in the back of my mind, she's really someone, you were different at the time. And I'll just say this, now that I've interviewed and I've been blessed to interview so many guests on mikedup, I've heard so many incredible stories over the years, the last 3 years. But I remember when I was meeting with you, it was the things you were talking about, mindset, the mindset shifts, digging deeper inward, the things you were sharing with me that day, it was all fresh for me. I haven't heard anybody put the perspective or that spin on it. And it was almost like, is she speaking English? What is she? She's really deep, And so when I was thinking a guest from mikedup, I knew you were going to be on the show. It's just a matter of time. And here we are. So this has been meant to be for a long time. Super exciting to have you here. I know your website is going to be brand new and have a fresh look to it very soon. Maybe when this is released, when people go to your website, they will see the fresh site. It is Linda, and then it's BUCHER.com. But guys, you know the drill. Don't worry about spelling it. It is clickable in the show notes for you, so it's easy to connect with Linda. But here's a scoop. I want to keep that energy flowing from your bio, from your introduction, right? So talk about the importance of sharing our gifts with the world. I mean, you have this framework that's called Your Gifts Matter, designed to help people realize their worth. Can you share with the people tuning in right now, how can we help them today?
So it's my why, and then it's connected to the why that's even bigger than me. And that's the vision that's been entrusted to me by the universe, which is we are each here to make big, beautiful ripples, and they're as unique as we are. So we are part of this bigger puzzle. So we got to do our job. It's actually like a responsibility to make these big, beautiful ripples. And the way that we do that is by sharing our gifts. So I envision a world that, where everyone is in alignment with those gifts, that they realize their worth, that they have shed all the things that are in the way of them giving these gifts, that they are truly showing up in that energy and capacity that they're meant to serve. And when we do that, it's a beautiful legacy that we leave to our children, because our children don't listen to what we say, but they really watch what we do. And if they're seeing us heal ourselves, doing what it takes to heal ourselves, and realign our energy and our direction with our purpose so that we are giving these gifts to the world. I know it may seem utopian, but it's just one person at a time, and this is how we do it. And each person makes big, beautiful ripples. Who we connect with and all the differences that we make as we move through life, those positive differences, they ripple far beyond our comprehension, but they ripple nonetheless. And so I feel like it's our responsibility to give our gifts to the world.
No, I agree. I think that's beautiful. That is why I'm serving and doing this show. Look, I know that I don't have all the answers. I don't have every single beautiful quote that's going to be up on Instagram is going to come out of my mouth. But the idea of mikedup is to have that collective thought with a guest. And when we're kind of working together, we're serving, you're serving through your story and sharing it with us today. My goal is to pull it out of you. I mean, it's going to be, you're an easy dancing partner because you do this and you're so good at it. So I just get to sit back and enjoy watching you share your gifts with the world. But I think that's really well said. And so the next part of it, and kind of part B to the question, is when somebody is struggling, maybe they're struggling finding and even understanding their purpose, what's the next steps that you would recommend they go to kind of get centered?
Yeah. A lot of people come to me because they say, and I remember when I was in this exact place, like I remember one day I said out loud, no one was home, but I said it out loud nonetheless. Like, I don't know what life I'm meant to be living, but it sure as hell ain't this one. Like, I knew that for certain. And in that moment, I set such a powerful intention that things will be different. So that is the starting point, is the intention. The second piece of that starting point, because it's kind of like twofold, you have to have the intention. But unless you have the belief that it's possible for you, you won't make a move because you won't know, you won't even look any further. I have this thing I share with my clients. I call it the belief continuum. And a continuum is something that, all the places along the way are closely related, but from end to end, it's vastly different. So at one end, we have, impossible, not bloody likely when pigs fly, right? That's the one end of this belief continuum. That's what's happening over there. In the middle is possible. And then as you move along, you get to likely, probable, inevitable. And then my favorite, which to me is the end of that continuum, is it's already done. And even when I say that out loud, I get like a beautiful energetic feel like, oh, it's already done. So you have to at least believe it's possible to start to become in alignment, to discover your purpose and align with it and give those gifts to the world eventually. The
visual I just got, Linda, is kind of like, it's like almost like a train track or something. Like for it to get from one side to the other, has to at least be on the track to have a chance. If it's off track, if it's not even connecting or there's a disconnect, then for it to move smoothly at some point in time is, and we know that with a train, that you cannot get this thing to move until we properly get it on the track. So that's the same thing with somebody's inner belief in themselves. If they're not properly getting it to at some starting, it could be way off in the pigs fly section of the continuum, but then we just have a lot more work to do. But if it's somewhere closer to the middle, then there's a shorter distance to get them really into their passion, not passion, but into their purpose, right?
Sure, yeah. Now, when I envision it, my vision is a hallway, and at the end of impossible and when pigs fly and not bloody likely, there's no doors and no windows, because there couldn't be, because you don't even believe it's possible. So where else would you look? You wouldn't even look. But when you get to possible, it's like this magic point, because at possible, you ask the question, how? You won't ask that if you don't think it's possible. So you have to believe that the right life for you, that finding your purpose, that living your purpose, that giving your gift to the world is at least possible. So you can ask that magic question of how. And the how doesn't start with how can I do it? It's how has it ever been done? How did he do it? How did she do it? And then how might I do it? And once you get to that point in that hallway, now you start seeing small windows. You start finding opportunities because you're looking where you're never looking when you don't believe it's possible. You're looking, might it be this way? Might it be that way? Might it be this? Might it be that? And as you move down that continuum of likely and probable and inevitable, and especially when you think like it's already done, that's when it's just wide open. There's not even a door. It's just like you're just in this, trusting of yourself, trusting the universe that I don't have to know how. It's just, I know it's already done. It's happening. I will be living this life and giving my gifts to the world in the way I'm meant to do it. I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know what it's going to look like, but it's already done. So that's the beginning of the journey.
It's an empowering feeling of like, okay, I'm here. I'm where I'm supposed to be. I'm at my step 1, opposed to Linda's step 12. Like you've been, doing this for many years, over a decade. And so you're going to be super advanced in your thinking in this, but somebody who may be just starting out, someone listening to the show and they're like just getting into more of that mindset and inner development, doing the inner work, they are just get that train on the track. And then I don't want to speak for you, but then it's like bringing in positivity and shaping right through maybe listening to other podcasts or getting in tune with themselves, maybe some one-on-one time, whether that be meditative prayer or just meditation or whatever their personal beliefs are, and eliminating negativity, right? It's kind of like polar. We're talking about this continuum, but we want the positivity to push it in the right direction. So now you have more positive energy. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So what are some things you recommend people can do to continue to improve that positivity?
Well, first, keep your eyes on the prize if it's already done. It's happening. You don't have to know how. So that's one thing. Like I like to think of this journey of it is a self-discovery journey. No one else has the answer for you. It's inside of you, and it's just waiting to be revealed. Like I think Michelangelo said that about, he said, I saw the angel in the marble and I carved until I set him free, right? So the angel is in the marble. The answers are inside of you. And so it takes a little patience, right? To just know they're there and that they will, and trust that the answers come in little pieces, I call them puzzle pieces when I work with my clients. Like we're going to find some puzzle pieces. Your intelligent brain will put them together, but we're not going to try to put them together yet. We just got to get them out, And sometimes those puzzle pieces come out covered in schmutz. That's a technical coaching term. And and then we have to de-schmutz the puzzle piece so we can actually see what the answer, what's on that piece. But things that we can do right.
Linda. I got chills with that. Like Mike, was it Michelangelo you said? The quote? Yeah, I just pictured that I just thought about myself and thinking about like, the bigger picture goals and like the fact that I know it's there. It's just a matter of I continue to do the right things and I will be able to get it. It's already designed to be there. I personally believe in God. I believe it's designed for me to go and live in my own unique purpose, and everybody tuning in has their own version of it. But thinking of it like that piece of marble that just needs to be chiseled, it's already, the beauty is there already. It's just a matter of doing some of the work to clean it up. And I like that example too, because it's not something that happens right away. It takes a lot of intricate movements and very intricate design to do it. But like you said, you're already like, just pick up the chisel and at least start working at it. That's the only way you're going to get to the end, right?
Yeah. And the way that we stay positive is remembering everything is happening for us, not to us. Always happening for us. You might not be able to see the gift in it right now, but in hindsight, if you take the time to turn around and go, okay, what was the gift in that big thing? You will find it. I found about 16 years ago, my husband suddenly passed away in his sleep, leaving me with 3 little grieving children. Like they were 3, 5, and 7 years old. And when I look back, it was the single most important and best thing that ever happened to me, because there's no way I would be doing what I'm doing and giving my gifts to the world and making ripples the way that I do if he hadn't died. I mean, I know it sounds crass to say that, but it was meant,
it gives
was
me
part
chills.
of the plan for me to be able to, but that's where I discovered how strong I am, because I don't believe that difficult circumstances make you stronger. I believe that they reveal just how strong you are, because you have to draw on that strength when that happens.
Mic drop moment right there. Yes, adversity doesn't make you stronger. It reveals the strong person that you already are. I think that's really well said. We've said this on the show before. I say we, my guests and I. It's been a quote before, and I've heard it from Ed Milet, one of my favorite podcasters. I always throw his name out there because it was kind of the first time I had that adjustment to the thought process of things happen for you, not to you. I've gone through divorce. I've had some devastating things happen in the past that I had to get through. And in the moment, they never seem to make sense. It's that, why is this happening to me? You see like a child in the hospital, you're like, why would this happen? Like, this doesn't make any sense. And you can ask why, but the only thing like what empowers you, and I'm saying this to, obviously I already know that you know this, but kind of helping the audience connect the dots here is, the devastating thing happened. Your husband passed away. He was young. This was 16 years ago, so he must have been very young, right? So, now what? And so you're not able to change. You can't go in the DeLorean and change things and change health and stuff like that. But what you can do is change how you react to it and who you become and stuff. And there's a beauty in your story in that it sounds like it was an awakening for you. Can you talk about how you got through that devastating time and being a single mom for 3 kids?
Yeah. So
how much time do we got, right? Let's see.
Right. So what I discovered was that it gave me some space that I didn't otherwise have. My husband was an alcoholic, and it's kind of like a full-time job when you're trying to manage that, keep your kids safe, and hide it from the whole family and the whole world, which is what I had been trying to do. So when he passed away, I found myself with this, the loss of not just the role of wife, but the loss of not having to have that weight of managing that, of worrying about the future, of having one foot out the door and thinking about, the driving, there was so much I had weight on. So that also was gone. And I decided to use that capacity that was freed up to discover, who am I and what do I want? Because I never had the time and I never prioritized answering that question when he was alive. I was going through lots of things for the 10 years prior to him passing away, including we adopted our 3 children from Russia. That's a big, each time was a big, giant effort and a year-long process. So, we get so bogged down with all the things we're doing. I never stopped to ask myself that question. And so now I had this space to, say, who am I? And what I discovered is I'm not who I thought I was supposed to be. I'll put it that way. It's probably the best way to put it. And that when we're talking about a midlife crisis, right? It can either be a crisis or it can be an awakening. It depends on what you do in the moment that you decide, oh my God, this life is not the life for me. This is not what I signed up for. What can I do? So in that moment, you've got to, if you're going to do something about it, it's an awakening. If you're not going to do something about it, it's a crisis. Crisis.
That's another great moment, mic drop moment. But I like that. It's not just changing the word doesn't change the circumstance. It's changing the belief. Because you can go to see someone and they're sitting down with you, tell me about what's going on. And you tell them and they're like, oh, don't say the word crisis, say the word, that's not going to change it. But it's actually the perspective you're talking about of the awakening. I had that when I was 31 years old. I left corporate and went into entrepreneurship because I had this awakening of I was listening to podcasts, and a lot of my favorite people I was listening to for sales and insights and stuff when I was in a sales role in corporate they were all entrepreneurial and thriving, but they weren't just doing well financially. They were serving. The big thing is they were on stages, they were empowering people, they were bringing people up. Some of it was Christian content, some of it was just regular everyday content, but the people were not doing it just for the financial gain. It was this, they were all connected to purpose. So it was something I didn't know about. Like I was telling you, when you and I met a handful of years ago, this wasn't something I was really educated on yet. So it was all new. And now through podcasting, both as a host and as a consumer, I learned so much through the medium, and it's been amazing. But yeah, it's not just changing words, it's changing thoughts, feelings, actions that come along with it. But it's so good as to, like you said, in an awakening. So now somebody's listening to this, they're like, okay, I'm going to start to change my thoughts, right? And I'm looking at your website and I see a term here. I'm wondering if this is connected to what we're talking about. Conscious expander. Is that kind of in the same mindset? Am I close?
Yeah.
Ding,
so
ding,
that's ding, ding, ding. That is a term I coined, I don't know, maybe 14 years ago when I first became a coach. And it came to me. Everyone is learning and growing. You either succeed or you learn. And sometimes you succeed and learn, but we fail forward. We hear that term before. And so everybody's learning and growing. It just happens through life. However, there's some of us who are doing it on purpose. Like we are hungry for expansion. I don't use the word growth in my, conscious expanders. I say expansion because expansion is more than just growing our knowledge, right? We crave expansion in a 360-degree way. We want more knowledge. We want more. We want to grow emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and we want to grow our impact. So we want to grow and expand in all of these different ways and all of these different facets, and we're doing it on purpose. Now, as a silly example, the plumber comes over, he's under the sink, and I want to know every single thing he's doing. Is it because I'm ever going to do my own plumbing? No, it's because I like to know stuff. And people like me, conscious expanders, and also I will say that I'm a multi-passionate person, which means I have my fingers and toes in 20 different things at any given time. It's not adult ADD. That is not a real thing. We say that, and people tease about that. Some of us are hardwired to have many diverse interests and a very low tolerance for boredom. And Barbara Scheer in her books calls us scanners. So I say we are multi-passionate people. And multi-passionate people, because we have our fingers and toes in 20 different things at any given moment, we are quick learners because we want to pick up something. And then our gift is synthesization. We can put everything together that we learn in those 20 different places and apply it to each one of those 20 different places. So we're and kind of people. So we take this and multi-passionate people, and then we take this conscious expansion. Now I want to know what the plumber's doing because someday that's going to come in handy. And one of these things I have my fingers and toes in, which might be a real estate business or someone else is having a plumbing. I'm like, oh, it's this. You need to call, I just want to know this information because then I can draw on it. I can synthesize it into other things. And so conscious expanders are consciously expanding in 360-degree ways. And multi-passionate people are, they have unique challenges because they're and. So we got more people, more people. We have and people. And some of them like me and maybe like you are all of that. So we have our own unique challenges, which is why some of these strategies that we try to use, like time blocking and project management in certain ways, never work. They never will because they don't fit who we are. So we want to fit what we're doing to who we are, which is probably a whole different conversation.
That is the first time I've heard it explained that way and put so eloquently, like beautifully stated. I love that idea of expansion, but also it's not just more information downloading in your brain or in your soul. It's actually turning it around. The word you use to synthesize it. I think that's a great explanation of what's going on. And that's kind of the way that I've never defined it that way, but I personally live by that. Like if I'm going to read a book, how can I take, and I think too many people do this. They read a book, but there's one chapter that bothers them, so they throw the whole thing out. Like everything in this book is no good, right? Oh, really? Because the author had one thing that you didn't agree with. So to me, it's kind of like downloading it all, and then you synthesize, you put it all together, and you use it to concoct kind of your whether it's vision or purpose. It's all tied into it. And as you're expanding, that's why I love networking and meeting amazing people like you. Is you kind of all are in a collaborative spirit when you're there. You're like, how can we help each other? Who do we need to connect you with? Oh my God, Linda, your story is beautiful. I got to connect you with my friend Steve or whoever. And it all just we start to, it's resonating together. It's that positive energy I was talking about. But yeah, I think if you're doing all that minus the synthesizing it, then you're basically just like a library. You're a bunch of books on the shelf, opposed to information that's moving, that has life to it, right? So this has been one of my favorite conversations of all on Mike'd Up so far, and I know we're only about halfway through it. We're going to take a quick 2-minute timeout. We're going to give some love to our sponsors, and we will be right back with Linda.
Podcasting is a great way to engage with your audience and stay consistently relevant. The only problem is you don't have the time or desire to produce your own show. You simply want it done for you, and that's where Social Chameleon comes in. All you need to do is press record and upload the files. We'll handle the rest. From planning, production, post-production, distribution, and digital marketing, we have you covered. We realize that times are tough and funds are tight, and Social Chameleon believes in building supportive business relationships. By clicking on the link in this promo, we'll provide you 7 free podcasting tips to get started, as well as a free 30-minute online consultation. This is the perfect opportunity for entrepreneurs, keynote speakers, industry experts, influencers, and anybody who has a personal brand. With Social Chameleon, we help you build a brand that is out of this world. We're ready and waiting, so what are you waiting for? Click on the link to get started today. Hey guys, it's Mike. I'd like to give a proper shout out to Navigator Bookkeeping. Look, for a long time, I ran my business without really understanding the full financial picture. I used my gut and my bank account balance to make decisions, which led to some poor choices and constant stress over my business's finances. I knew something needed to change. At the beginning of 2021, I made a decision that helped pave a more clear path for my business. I started working with Navigator Bookkeeping. Since then, my bookkeeping has been handled for me. I now understand the full financial story of my business, making important financial decisions much easier now, and it helps me plan for where my business is going. I highly recommend giving Navigator Bookkeeping an opportunity to help your business. Check them out at navigatingyourbooks.com. Again, that's navigatingyourbooks.com. It's time to know the full financial story of your business.
All right, we're back in action with Linda Bucher, and you can connect with her on social media. I have that all clickable in the show notes as well as her website. And you guys can check out Linda. She has so much great content. She's been a guest on many different shows. I want to ask you about your show as well, that you are the host of. And so much more. Like, if you guys have enjoyed this first half hour, this is just kind of like, this is the intro to Linda. There's so much more that we can only bring so much into this conversation. And personally, I'm a huge believer in the power of gratitude, Linda. And you've probably heard me say, be great and be grateful. It's all over on mikedup, and I have it on my mug and hats and t-shirts and the whole thing. Can you share how important gratitude is to you personally, and like, how is that a part of your daily routine?
Well, first, I'll show you my gratitude journal. There it is.
Ding, ding,
right
ding.
within arm's reach. Ding, 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 ding. I believe that we experience life through our emotions, right? So two people can look at the exact same thing. And if one person says, oh, that's terrible, and the other person says, that's no big deal, then that moment in their lives, they're experiencing, someone says, oh, life is hard, life is bad, life is whatever. And the other person is like, yeah, you roll with it, right? So your emotions give you your attitude, right? Now, our emotions are caused by our thoughts, 100% of the time. 100%. I mean, unless you're actually being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, in which case fear is caused by the saber-toothed tiger. But really,
that's an instinctive.
That's a different instinctive fear. Yeah.
Right.
But for all other circumstances, basically, it's that situations are always neutral. The story we attach to the situation is what gives us that emotional charge. So that story, that the way that we think, is what's giving us emotions. And when our emotions are of gratitude, we move through life in like almost, it feels more floaty to me, like a little more floaty, because it's where you experience what you focus on. I guess that's the bottom line. If you focus on what's wrong with the world, and I hear people talking all the time about what's wrong with the world, and I'm not saying there's not stuff wrong, there absolutely is, but instead of focusing on what's wrong, let's focus on how we can make a difference. And how we can make a difference first and foremost is showing up our best selves, which we can do. We're grateful, focused on absolutely everything that we have to be grateful for. And so my little gratitude journal starts with like 3 things every morning that I'm grateful for. And sometimes, it's just simple, yay, a sunny day, right? Which in Buffalo, I don't think we've had very often lately.
Yeah,
but,
it's sunny, it's not snowing, huge win. Like,
huge
that
wins,
is something
right?
to actually stop and be grateful for sure.
Yeah. And sometimes being grateful for how far I've come, being grateful for my inner strength, being grateful for, my beautiful home, being grateful for, there's always something that you can be grateful for. And when you not just write it down is a lot slower than think it and be gone. So you write it down, you take the time, but then if you can give yourself a moment to feel that gratitude, just stay in that emotion, ride that wave a little bit, especially first thing in the morning and last thing before you go to bed. If you those 2 times of the day. What am I grateful for, and what awesome things happened today that I'm grateful for at the end of the day. You will move through the rest of the day in a whole different way. So focusing on gratitude will give you your experience at how you experience life. And when you experience life in a more positive way, you show up better in service of other people. And you make things happen.
Yeah.
You find motivation, you find inspiration, because you're looking for ways to be grateful.
Yeah, you're in that flow, like you said. It feels like you're kind of a little bit more flowing or floating, and I do believe that, because you're moving with the tide of the positive energy, and the fuel for that energy is the gratitude that you feel, that you're already experiencing. But until you kind of stop, and I do this too, I need to stop and say, okay, now I'm going to do it. Morning is a beautiful time. Morning and night, bookend it in gratitude. I 100% agree with writing it down and even saying it multiple times. So it kind of stops your brain from thinking about the next thing and actually like sitting there and living in it for a moment. I think there's different levels of like mature gratitude, like different levels of maturity with it too, because like I know I do this with my daughter. She's 7, going to be 8 soon. And when this comes out, she probably will be 8. And her and I talk about gratitude, but it's like in little bite-sized moments and things that she can wrap her heart and mind around. And then as you get a little bit older, it's like you can even say like, well, I got a flat tire on the way to a meeting, and now I just missed this big deal, and like the sale's not going to go through just because of this thing out of my control. And you could be screaming and mad and, oh, why would this happen? Or you could literally stop in the same situation and be grateful. Like, there's something I'm learning from today that if this didn't happen, I wouldn't get this information, or this could have been my worst client ever. I really don't know, but I'm just going to be grateful that everything is cool. The car's fine. The tire can be repaired or replaced. On we go with the day. 2 people, same situation. The rest of their days look very different, don't they? And it's like,
they do.
What was cool about it is, what I love about gratitude is we control it. We don't have to go get it. We don't have to ask someone. We don't have to pay for it. We don't have to be blessed with it. We have it. Like everybody has the ability to be grateful. And the power is there. Yeah. So when I see people who seem to go and focus towards, I don't even think it's really necessarily their fault. I think a lot of it is cultural or maybe household, and you have to like get yourself out of there, which is why reading books and podcasts and hanging out and meeting people who think more like what we're talking about today helps break those bad habits. Because a lot of times people do want to get together and gossip or just only talk about sports, and that's the only thing that comes up in topics is very like, and that's fine. I'm a huge Bills fan, but like if I talk to the same friends about only the Buffalo Bills, there's no growth in that. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to talk. I want to get to know you. I want to go back to what you were saying with somebody and be an expander. What can I learn from you? What can I share with you to expand you today? Right? Like that's it, man. That's what lights me up. And that's why I just love having you on the show and what you're talking about. Now, I don't want to jump past it. When we came back from the break, I talked about you being a guest, but also a host. So share more about your hosting. Where can we see more of Linda?
So, well, the first thing is I have my own show. I started it last January. It's called Conversations Worth Your While. And it's a show in which I talk with authentic leaders and change makers who are already giving their gifts to the world. And we chat about kind of cool topics. Topics can be all over the place. But the point is to spark and inspire and motivate either personal or professional growth or both. Okay. And so I have about 40 episodes up on YouTube. And I actually just yesterday through Buzzsprout put 2 episodes up to see if they would show up on Apple and Spotify. So we'll see what happens.
Cheers to that. And hey,
then I'll put more
if you need
there.
help with that, let me know. That's what I do.
Thank you.
So
thank you.
I'll definitely be happy.
Much easier than I thought. And the point, I always tell my guests, the point of the show, and it's so similar to what you're doing, is to be in service of the audience. It's not to interview my guest so that they can make more sales. Absolutely not. And I make that very clear up front. We're in service of the audience. We're here to give our gifts to the world. So let's do that in this episode. And, naturally, of course, it showcases the expertise because I, don't just have anybody on the show. I find experts or people who have unique unique things to share, unique ways to share something that maybe someone else, maybe we've heard it 1,000 times before, but you have to hear it in this moment from these people for it to be like, wow, that's fabulous. So that's my show. And I also have show hosting as one of my B2B services to work with other companies who need a show host, because one of the things I do upstream of recording is I call it the wrangle the kittens part of our conversation, where if someone's like, I'm not sure what to say or where we're going, I can hone in very well on, let's talk about this important topic and then draw up the conversation. So the wrangle the kittens is a really fun type of service that I offer upstream of recording for those who aren't super clear on what they exactly want to talk about. So yeah, super
and
fun.
I
love doing it.
What's exciting about us reconnecting recently is that's something that we're looking to add with Social Chameleon is I've produced shows before where the host is very hesitant. Maybe it's either they need coaching or want coaching, or sometimes it's a company is like, we don't really have the right host for the show, but this is what we want. And I'm super excited to have you as an opportunity to say, hey, let's get Linda on. She can represent this really well. She knows the medium. Even if you didn't, you would learn it and we can make it work. So I'm excited about that. It's 2023. I would love nothing more than if by the end of the year, we at least have one thing we're working on. Let's at least hit that first one.
Totally.
And then I think they'll start to come from there as well.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that about your show. It's going to be linked in the show notes as well, so people can check out your show. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. And then I also wanted to say the reason a business might want to do it is because when their clients or their members are being showcased and giving their gifts to the world, then you're automatically going to tie that to that business, that organization. Like, wow, their members succeed, their clients succeed, like take an advertising business, for example. And so, if they're unable, a lot of times people are in their own way. We know this. So the advertising agency says, oh, I need you to do this. But there's this resistance and people are having trouble getting through that resistance. That's another place where someone like me can help, because if your clients are more successful, you and it's showcased to the world on, say, a co-branded, podcast, right? And you're showcasing all your clients, honestly, people are going to be like, I want some of that. Like, how I learned so much. They're so generous. This is the advertising agency, for instance, for me. So it's such a win-win for everybody.
It is. And I'll say this. I've built podcasts from the ground up. And I'll say a lot of times where there can be this, it's kind of like building a website or building a home or any construction project. You're going to have a lot of construction going on from literally nothing being there to it being completely built and smoothly running, and almost like gets into a running itself, needs maintenance situation. Kind of like we were talking about in the beginning of the show, that continuum. It's kind of like when you start a show, there's this continuum once you get it rolling. But where there's this kind of like gap or almost like a ravine that you kind of run into is when the host kind of gets a little bit overwhelmed, or they like, do I have to find the guests for the show, or are you going to find them, or what am I going to talk about, or what's the framework, what's the skeleton of the show going to look like, am I going to be any good at this? And like all these like hesitations end up, we'll launch it in February, and then we'll launch it in March, and then it's 2024, and then people, it's like it's easy to kick it down the road because of just these little things that if they had you're taking care of all that. So now the continuum can be smooth, opposed to excuses really is what they are. But a lot of times they're understandable. So I think it's, guys, if you're tuning in right now and are thinking about launching a show, and maybe it's just a host or what the host is going to do feels like it's slowing you down, reach out to Linda or myself, and we can make that work for you. I also do like to give, when a guest comes on the show, you're right. It's not about just like, oh, how can we get, more clients? I think people already know that you're an expert based on what we talked about in the first half hour of the show here. But so that'd be great. I hope your email lights up and your DMs are popping because they heard you on the show. But it's not about that. It's more about what value you can bring them. And that's totally what you're doing. And I agree. And that's exactly what mikedup all about. But at the end of the show, what I like to do is give you a little bit more time with the audience so they can kind of get to know you a little bit better. And I do it a little rapid fire. I don't always do this. We have a little bit of time left, so we can do it. And what's cool is I've had people tell me, or even myself, know someone for a really long time, but like a rapid fire question, someone goes, I never knew that about her or him. That's crazy. And it could be something really simple that just doesn't come up in conversation. So these are designed to kind of, I'm going to try to get out of the way and just and keep them shorter, but I think it'd be kind of fun to get to know you a little bit better.
All right, I'm not scared. Let them fly.
You're not scared. And then we'll kind of come back, and I have one big question that kind of puts a bow on the whole conversation at the end.
All right.
Because we're almost to the point where we're going to land the plane, but we still have a lot of fun here with rapid fire. So, ready? Here we go. Favorite book?
She by Kobe Yamada.
Awesome.
It's so favorite. I wrote it from ceiling to floor, wall to wall in a bedroom of mine when I first discovered that I was she, as shown in that book.
Awesome. Well, who is the author again? I could even link that.
Kobe Yamada, Yamada, I believe.
Cool. I'll check that out. All right. Would you rather be skiing or snorkeling?
Skiing.
Skiing. All right. Something unique about you?
Something unique. I have perfect pitch. How's that? That's pretty unique.
That is unique. I may have you show me either off camera or we can get you on the show. But
sure.
Favorite location you've ever visited and why?
That's going to be a toss-up, but I'm going to say driving through the Alps in October and seeing a royal blue glacier. Like, whoa.
Yeah. That's awesome. You're like, let's get out and do a documentary right now. Like, get this on.
Of course, it's also a toss-up for the tiny little walking streets of Venice because there was some energy there that was so amazing. I loved it.
Almost feels like a different universe, doesn't it? It's like
felt like I've been there before,
planet.
even though I hadn't. Like energetically, it felt like I've been here. I belong here, or something like that. It was really cool.
That is cool. What's your greatest fear?
My greatest fear, that's such an excellent question. I'm not afraid for other people, because I recognize I don't have control. So my greatest fear is in relation to myself. It's that I chicken out on not setting my dreams lofty enough, right? Like, when I catch myself saying something like, well, I don't want to be Oprah, like downgrading my dreams, which is like, who is that I shouldn't be doing that because who knows,
Yeah.
So I think
you could be the next person where they go, man, look at Linda, boom, like, and you're on that same level.
So
There's no reason that you're not.
Yeah, that I don't dream big enough. So.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
I like that. Appreciate the transparency on that too. Favorite movie?
Oh my gosh, I'm not sure I know what my favorite movie is.
Is there like a feel-good movie you have like that? If it comes on, it just kind of brings you some happy feelings.
I love comedies. So like Tropic Thunder, I've probably seen it 6 times. It still makes me crack up.
Cool.
There's no reason for it other than laughing.
If it popped in your head, it's just one of those. For me, that was like for many years, it was like Happy Gilmore. Like you could just put that movie on. Right. I could quote the whole thing. I could probably just press play and pause it, and I can quote the entire movie line by line. What's the best compliment that you can receive?
Well, boy, did I get one last night. I was in a healing circle, a Reiki healing circle, my first time ever trying that. So I showed up for me, but then I was, moved to share some other things. And one of the women there said to me, "You freed me. After 3 years, I've been locked up in just this one thing you shared. You freed me." And that just, whew, I was like, wow.
You were at the right place at the right time with the right person. And unlock that for her. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What's your greatest natural skill, do you feel?
Improvisation.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of them. As a musician, I've been able to write music since I was like 8 years old. And my mom would say, why don't you write it down here's some staff paper, write it down. I'm like, why would I write it down? I could just make something else up tomorrow. Like doesn't matter. So, but it goes into the kitchen. It goes I can improv anywhere, on anything basically. So I think that's kind of a cool natural skill that I have.
Makes you a great show host and a great guest and just great in front of people. You're not shy of the stage, which is awesome.
No, not at all.
If you could time travel to any place in time, where would you go?
How? Boy, you're asking such a good question. I think I would like to see my significant other, like how he was when he was like maybe around 20 years old, 18, 20, because he was kind of a superstar hockey player and a total clown. And, I think I would like to experience that, see him that way. I think that would be kind of a fun thing to do, go back in time that way.
That's a great answer. I love that. Yeah, I can feel that answer for sure. If you can be any animal, what would it be? And why?
Oh, it's interesting. I feel very connected to all dogs. So, because, dogs are always like generous, with their affection and nice, have great energy to be around. So I feel like a dog probably.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's it for Rapid Fire. I definitely learned a lot about you. I didn't know that you had perfect pitch. I didn't know that you were a musician. So do you record anything? Do you have like a solo album that's in the works or anything cool?
No, I really don't do that at all.
What about open mic night or karaoke?
No, singing is not in my skill set. No, not singing. However, having perfect pitch, I'm great at parties. If you say, hey, can you play a song that I've heard on the radio that I actually can hear in my head? I can play all of it, like the chords, the melody, the rhythm, it just comes out my fingers. They're like, how do you do that? I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, have you ever played this song before? I'm like, no.
Piano?
Yeah, I'm piano. But if I can hear it, I can play it. Until I can't hear it anymore, I go, I don't know where it goes next. But it's pretty wild. Pretty wild.
That is really cool.
And what else is like unique about that is when I listen to music, I hear it differently than most people. And I akin it to like reading. So, when you're reading a book, you're like the visual, like say you're reading a novel, you're getting a visual in your head. You're not paying attention to the words, the spaces between the words or the letters at all. You just, right? So when people listen to music, same thing, they hear the music. I hear music as if you were reading, you were very aware of every word, every space, every unique letter. So that's how I hear music. So I hear it differently. It's really having perfect pitch. That's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah. I have something too. I've never shared this. I definitely didn't share it on the podcast yet. I do not have perfect pitch. I play the drums and to me, I feel music and I can feel, and a lot of times people say think with drummers that they're not like playing notes on a scale or anything. I mean, we're obviously playing music notes, but they're not like in different pitches necessarily. You tune your drum kit for sure.
Yeah.
But the thing that I hear is just more so like the correct part that matches the feel, the energy, when not just when to drop out or when to come in, but to color it in with the different percussive instruments. But it's not only that. I wish I could actually play. I could mess around on keyboard, and I know like the triads, and on guitar I could play cowboy chords. Anything you have to bar, I cannot play like funky stuff because I cannot bar. My caveman fingers just don't want to do it. But I do have this ability, like when I either get into a meditative state, and this happens a lot of times in the shower because there's no phone, there's no TV, there's no one talking to you. I just like the world comes to me, and I have songs that will just come to me. Like I'll just have a little bass line in my head, and by the end of the time, like I'm a few minutes later, I have like a 8-piece orchestra symphony. I could hear the whole thing, and I just wish I can go to like an artist and say, can we just do this? You could get all the credit. I just throw my name in the notes or whatever. But I can actually layer a song. So I think that's cool that you two different people can kind of get to maybe an end result with totally different strategies. It's really cool.
Yeah. I remember being a kid and having that happen in my head, and it was actually classical. I was just writing classical symphonies in my head. I never wrote anything down, but they were just playing before I went to sleep for like 20 minutes. But like, okay, I gotta go to sleep now. Stop playing,
And it's like you could hear like a run of notes, but then it stops. It's almost like a coloring book, and then you can color the rest of it in. It just comes to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're
really
an
cool.
intuitive musician.
I think so. And it's not even like, pat on the back or anything. I just, as far as drumming goes, talent wise, I think that was, if there's different like attributes, grades of different styles or whatever, I think the creativity and that would be a higher attribute, like the listening side and the intuitive side of playing. And then I would just say like flat out skill. I think I'd be pretty high. The thing I wasn't as strong was reading, like reading the notes and then playing it. Like I could do that. I played jazz and marching band where you had to read note for note. But it was slower for me to process because if I just shut my eyes, my skill level would go from maybe a 4 to like up closer to a 10, just because now it's just letting me do my flow state, So
totally
super
get
cool.
that.
Yeah. And we're going to wrap this whole thing up and put a bow on it. We're talking a lot about purpose. We're talking about flow, gratitude, continuums. I don't know if there's anything I left out, but just connecting it all together, conscious expansion, another beautiful thing. So to tie it all together, imagine this. You're the author and protagonist in your own life story, and you get to write the ending, and God willing, you continue to live a long, prosperous life. You're looking back on it, you're reflecting, and you get to define your legacy. What would that be?
So I'm going to try to dream really big, not, right over that, jump over that fear of,
Yeah.
So, all right. So I'm going to think back. I'm going to think I'm, a healthy, joyous 90-year-old woman. And I'm looking back and saying, what is the legacy that I left? And it is tied to that why that I shared at the very beginning of this podcast. It's that I am satisfied and pleased and grateful to have been able to make such big, beautiful ripples in the world by helping others, by lifting them, by helping them to discover their worth and discover their purpose and align their energy and their direction and make the difference that they're here to make. That I'm very satisfied in whatever way that looked, that I'm satisfied, pleased, and honored. And I believe I have a client who is Indian, and she shared with me the word seva, and it means to be in service, but to be honored and privileged to be in service. So that I experienced that feeling of, seva,
You are absolutely doing it. You're building it. You're building the different stepping stones to it. I think it's important to be present, but also to have that big, lofty, gigantic goal or dream that the universe says, go and get it, Linda. This is here for you. Like there's plenty of room for everybody to get to their highest level of their biggest dreams. Right. Let's go get it. And you're doing it. And I'm blessed to have you as a friend and a connection, and for you and your time in this last hour together. And I know your clients are blessed to have you. And just continue to do what you're doing. You are shining bright. And man, I just get so excited when we have conversations like this one, because I know in reflecting in this, like, man, if one person listens and this impacts them today, then we served and it was our time well spent. But it's just a reminder, conversations like this one, Linda, are a great reminder for myself that I'm doing the right thing. Because I feel it inside. I feel that flow state of, just like talking about playing the drums, I get that same feeling, that giddiness when I do the podcast, because I know like this is what I'm supposed to be doing right here. And it feels like it's magical. So I like to wrap up every show with two things. It's to remind everybody to be great in your greatness, as Linda's talking about, and also remember to be grateful as well. Start the day and the day in gratitude. And I like to start every episode and every episode in gratitude. So thank you so much for being with us today. Any last words you'd like to say as we head out?
What's coming to me right now is trust. trust yourself, trust that you're being guided, and stop listening to your head and start listening to your heart.
Yes, so good. Amazing. Thank you so much, Linda. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mike.
I'd like to give a huge shout out to everyone for tuning in, especially those who listen all the way to the end to hear this message. Seriously, I appreciate you, and my guests do as well. Giving a quick reminder to subscribe to this show. It's completely free and will allow you to receive notifications when new episodes are released. If you'd like to provide a tip as a gift, you can do so via patreon.com/mikedup. It's spelled MIKED up. Patreon.com/mikedup. You can give as little as $1 per month or as much as you'd like. Every dollar is greatly appreciated and completely unexpected. Appreciate your reviews and your messages coming in on social as well. Keep them coming. Your feedback is valuable and absolutely means the world to me. You can check out more episodes and content at mikeduppodcast.com. We're powered by Social Chameleon. You can also follow me on Instagram. That's where I'm the most active, and it's at Mike DiCioccio, MikeDiCioccio. Thank you so much for your continued support. You guys know what to do. Be great and be grateful.